Hi everyone, so today's video is going to be my end of January updates. So one thing I did this month was perform some virus testing for Cymbidium mosaic virus and Odontoglossum ring spot virus because I had a few plants that I weren't sure if they were okay. So I bought 5 tests. And the tests are a little bit expensive, so I'll put all the information below if you want to get it for yourself. Out of all the plants I tested, unfortunately, my Polycycnus barbata was infected, so I just threw that out. I think I would like to try that plant again if I can find it. And then the other plants I'll show you as I go through the tour. This is Vanda Ricky Perez, or Cultana fragrance crossed with tessellata, and I noticed that for the amount of time I had it, it didn't grow very many new roots, and it hadn't actually pushed out any new root tips in a very long time. So I decided to pot it up in sphagnum moss in a clay pot, like what I did with my Rhynchorides Bangkok Sunset. And this is my Rhynchorides Bangkok Sunset. You can see I took a bit off. So this is one of the plants that I tested. And the reason I tested it was there's this weird stripe here. I'm not sure what that is, but it doesn't have the typical signs of virus infection. So I just want to test it to see if there's actually anything wrong with it. So from the test, it doesn't have those 2 viruses. That's not to say it doesn't have some other plant viruses, but I didn't test for those, so for now this is fine. So this is my Phal javanica, and it's pushing out a new flower spike. I still have issues with the blooms on this plant opening fully. And this is my Vanda coerulescens, and it's pushing out a flower spike. This has spiked for me twice before, but I never got any blooms with it because the spikes dried out, so I'm being more consistent with the humidifier. I'm hoping I can get flowers this year. This is my Ascocentrum ampullaceum, and it's pushing out. I'm not sure if it's a spike or if it's starting another fan, so we'll see in a bit. So these are my seedlings. So all the Paraphalaenopsis laycockii seedlings are doing fine. Same with the one on the kulog. I'm not sure if it's produced any new roots attached to the kulog, but that aerial root there has a new root tip. And those Dendrobium tobaense are doing fine as well. So I ended up putting my Renanthera monachica in the tank because I have a feeling it needs hotter temperatures than what I can provide outside. So that's why this is here. So you'll notice my Thrixpermum leucorrhacne is not here. The infection it had spread too much and it wasn't really worth saving, to be honest, so I threw out the plant and I sterilized the kulog. So I decided to move my Leptotes bicolor here. It still has a couple buds on it, so I'm hoping that I can get some blooms on it. And this is my Psychopsis limminghei. I decided to suspend it because the growth is starting to go underneath the mount. So this is my SLC World Vacation Shibuya Sunset. So I've also tested this one. I was originally going to test my Arides flabellata, but Vandas are less likely to have a virus compared to Cattleyas. And since I've had this in my collection for a while, I wanted to test it. But this one, it was fine, so it's a matter of me just doing a better job. And this is my Cleisocentron gokusingii, and there's still no roots on it, but it's not dead. And this is Masdevallia amplexa, and it's blooming like crazy. Does really well for me. No signs of an infestation on the plant, so that's really good. And this one is a tiny division of Galiotia Fimbriata crossed with Tigrinum. This one had an issue with that bug on this leaf. I only have a few plants where that bug is continuously a problem. So what I do, I just wash the leaf whenever I see it. So far I haven't seen anything since the weekend, so I think I should change out the media actually, but that's the update on that. This is Dendrobium Christianum, and it's starting to push out a new growth. And this is Bulbophyllum sanguineopetalum, and it's not dying, but it hasn't really pushed out any new roots either. And this is Dendrobium draconis, and it's pushing out a new growth. And this is Galiotia Fimbriata, and it's also pushing out a new growth. And this is Bulbophyllum anandele, and it's also pushing out a new growth. I think I'm going to actually repot it this year. And this is Stelis macrantha clouds mini-me. So this is one of the plants that had that weird black bug, probably thrips, but I haven't seen any of them on this plant since, so I think this one is clear. And this is Dendrobium Sherry Abe, and it's still in bloom. And still no fragrance, but I enjoy the flowers. So this is my Galiotia Fimbriata. This is also one that I tested because the leaves looked suspicious, but this one also came out clean, although I think it probably has some weird fungal infection causing the leaf spotting, but it's otherwise fine. And this is my Thecostelle alata. So this one is pushing out a new growth. This one has 2 growths on it. This one is not so new, but the bottom one down there is new. And this one I have it sitting in some water. The roots are very shallow from what I've seen so far, so I'm not worried about it being too wet. And this is my Cloecia replica northern, and it's pushing out a flower spike. So this is my Epidendrum ciliare, and the one thing I changed is that it's sitting on a tray of water, but not sitting in the water. And then on this side is my LC Supersonic Striking Lip. So I actually ended up repotting it this month. It's not the best season for it, but it was really bothering me. It was sitting so high off the pot. So I've cleaned it up. I'm using all the same media because it's inorganic media, and it seems to be doing very well. It's pushing out a lot of new roots, and it's also sitting in the same tray. And this is my Dendrobium antenatum crossed with Streploceras, and it's pushing out a spike there. It was starting to push out a new spike from inside from before, but that's old news. But this one is new news. So this cane should produce 2 flower spikes. This one is Ascocentrum pusillum, and you can see the last 2 leaves. They had a huge growth spurts compared to the previous leaves, so that's a really good sign. And this is Phal cornucervi shadalete, and its flower spike has grown a little bit, so I think it's in the process of developing flowers. This is Cataseum tergidum crossed with Kleberianum, and this is also one that seems to be attracting that bug for some reason, and I'd had to wash the leaves a couple times already. What I really want to do is wait for it to go in dormancy and peel off all the sheaths and really give it a good scrub, because I think that will help. And this is my Dendrobium Chapansi, and it's looking pretty dire. I'm not sure what else I can do. I keep a little bit of water in the tray, and I'm hoping the humidity will help encourage roots to grow, but some of the bulbs are just yellowing. I'm debating whether I should throw it out or keep hope for some of the green bulbs that are there. This is Bulbophyllum Princess Spajaratana, and it's growing a new growth. And the roots are attaching well to the coolog, so that's good. And this is Renanthera tenaculosum, and it's doing very well in the coolog. It's pushed out a lot of roots, but they're not sticking to the coolog, which is not great, but at least it's pushing out roots, so happy with that. And this is Dendrobium Virginium, and it's pushing out a new growth. And this is my Neophoenicia falcata hakacho, and looks like it's pushing out a new flower spike. And this is Kitsuamushi, and it's pushing out a new fan. This is Coryanthes missaceae, and has those 2 growths on it. The leaves don't look super great. I think they have mites, but I just try to wash it down at least once a week. And I think that's helping. So this is Dendrobium Coroniferum. So this is one of the other plants I tested for those 2 viruses. And the reason I wanted to test it was because I've had it for a very long time, but it hasn't done super well for me. This one grew very well, but this is the latest one, and this one didn't do well. So I thought maybe there might be something wrong with it. So it doesn't have those 2 viruses, so the problem is me. When it gets a bit warmer outside, I think it takes a minimum of 10 or 12 degrees. I'm just gonna shove it outside so that I can give it a proper drop, like a very cool drop in temperature, because I can't achieve that in the house, and I'm hoping that will help to get it to bloom. This is Vanda Jene, and it has that one green root tip. Every morning I spray it, just because I'm worried it's going to crust over like the rest of the roots, but overall this is fine. So this is Vanda Roblegiana, and I think last time I mentioned that this is a flower spike, but the more it grows, the more it seems like it's actually going to be a keiki, but we'll see. And this is Paffina Rigosa, and it has a new growth. This is my Stanhopeia, and unfortunately this never bloomed for me. I think it's definitely a humidity thing, so I think next time I'm just going to wrap this whole thing with a plastic bag if I get another flower spike. And this is Galiotia Fimbriata crossed with Calcium tigrinum, and this was dormant, but one day I decided just to look at it, and I noticed that this pseudobulb was rotting at the bottom. So I did emergency surgery and I took it off and I put some cinnamon on it. This thing seems like it's still alive, and it has this eye here, although it hasn't grown or anything. I'm hoping it will grow. And then this one, I just cleaned it up and put it back in the pot. I cut off all the roots just in case. So this is my Kaisis limminghei alba, and I decided to put it back here because the latest growths are fairly skinny, so I wanted to give it light. So this is the other plant where it consistently has that pest problem, but I soaked the whole thing in a bucket last weekend and washed all the leaves, and I haven't seen it since. So hoping that's resolved. I'll probably soak it again this weekend or whenever. So I definitely want to get rid of this, but I can't get rid of it until it's clean. So last but not least is Dendrobium Virginium, and so this one was my old one. Oops. And then this one was from Paramount. That was in a pot. So I decided to make use of the kulog that used to be for my Thickspermum liquoracne. So it's done okay. Whatever new roots that grew here, all the root tips kind of died off, so I put some moss around it. So we'll see long term how that works out. Anyway, that's my video for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.